How are you doing today, good peoples? Welcome back to another video. Today we're looking at the Samsung S25. Not the Plus, not the Ultra, but the S25. And people would consider this the base, but for the price point, I wouldn't say this is very base if you ask me. I would consider more like the A series would be more of a base. Kind of like, they're a little cheaper, so that's why I consider them the base models. And nothing's wrong with those phones, it's just a matter of the price point for me. So let's go ahead and get this opened up. All right, now that we got her all nice and set up, so what can I tell you about this device? I'll tell you what, if you already have either an S25 Plus or an S25 Ultra, you're not going to feel too much of a difference in terms of this device right here. So, I mean, coming from a person using, the S25 Ultra, previous Plus series, Ultra series, the phones more or less, feel here and there. Little small differences, but we're here to talk about this phone. I'm not going to talk too much about the generations, but essentially between these two, there's not too much to argue about other than, you got these, better cameras. This, you just get the smaller form factor. It's, thinner, it's lighter. I would like to argue that, they come in better colors here. So, yeah, but other than like just the operating system itself, they both feel the same. And, it's not bad because, who wants to, hop from this and maybe you want a work phone on the side and have to get used to a new layout. No one wants to do that. So, it's fine. It's perfectly fine. But in terms of some features, you do get, for example, the S Pen on this, and you do get, some things you can do on this where you can't do on this. For example, I think this one might be running a version of 7.5, where this one is running 8.0. I'm talking about the One UI 8.0 and 7.5. And the reason why I say 7.5, and I'm more than likely wrong on this, but it's just, when I try to customize, for example, let me just show you. Like when I try to customize the animation for this, it's not allowing me, whereas this, it allows me to change like different animations, things like that. And then what else? I mean, you can see at the bottom here, you got the midday brief, and you have right here. I believe you can do that. I just haven't set that up yet. So yeah, and then when it comes to how thin exactly, you can give yourself an idea right there. You have your volume rocker right here. You have, I believe this is the 5G antenna. You have the antennas right here. These are the camera modules. That's right there. Significantly lighter. You got your charge ports, and you have your what do you call it, the speakers, and obviously on this one you're gonna have the S Pen, and you also have your SIM slot and where you can open that tray up. And then I already showed you the volume rockers on this one, but this one obviously has them too. Power button. Yeah, and then the camera modules are significantly larger on the Ultra, obviously. I mean, it's the Ultra, so why wouldn't it? But yeah, we're gonna talk more on this phone. Now you might be asking, what's the quality like? Well, let me just show you. You probably didn't know that the phone was on, but essentially, right here you get an OLED display. Pretty sure you've seen, or not seen, but know about Samsung displays. They use OLED, and let's go ahead and zoom that in a little bit. So full screen it. I'll throw up some specs right on screen, so you can give yourself an idea of what this thing is kind of packing here. It's it gives me heavy iPod vibes, like back in the day, you remember, like the iPhone 5, and you remember those days where it was like the smaller phones, and this back then would have been revolutionary, something this size. Because I remember like the iPhone, like little squares, not much smaller than this, but you know, it's a nice phone, but unfortunately, it does not have that anti-reflective coating that comes with what is the 24 and 25 Ultra. But I mean, you pay the price for that kind of small little details. But it's not something that'll bother you necessarily, because I mean, you can always turn up the brightness and enjoy your videos like this. But yeah, it's a great phone. Believe the quality, yep, 2160 and 60 frames. But yeah, it's not bad. Uh, would I recommend you guys go out and just buy the entire stock of this? Um, I'm probably gonna say this in a lot of videos, but I wouldn't say you should or shouldn't. It's your money at the end of the day. But if you have the money for what is the Ultra, without a doubt, get the Ultra. But that doesn't always mean you should get the Ultra. What do I mean by that? The Ultra, I feel like, is for those who really like to take pictures, videos, high quality things, transfer files, gaming even. I would suggest getting this one if you want, the bang for your buck, and you need everything. You need the whole kitchen sink thrown. But if you want something that get you through the day, something minimalistic, something that won't bother you in your pocket, something that's not too heavy, sure, you could get the Edge. It's thin, it's light, and all that fun jazz. But the thing is, that is how much more than this. And the only thing that you're getting with the Edge, over this is the thinness, the lightness, and the camera. But essentially everything else just kind of stays the same. I believe this one might have similar, same, if not a little bit more battery, if not maybe less. But yeah. And you can't go wrong with this color, when it comes to the S25 and S25 Plus. And for those wondering, okay, what about the Plus? Should I get this over the Plus? Here's the thing. They're both essentially the same thing. The only thing you're sacrificing, well, not sacrificing, but the only thing you would be essentially kind of debating here would be the size. The size does not bother me. Like I said, I don't mind the size, and I'm gonna use this phone. Initially, it was just gonna be something that I was gonna do a video with, and possibly selling it or something like that. But no, I'm more than likely gonna keep this phone, and also obviously my Ultra and what is my Z Fold, which is what I'm using to record today. And let me know if you guys prefer this quality or the previous video's quality. Previous video I had used the 4K 120 FPS, and this one I'm currently using 8K 30, which I think I'm gonna keep the 8K 30 from now on, because I just like it. I prefer the 8K 30, but if you guys like the other one, then the other one shall be used more often. But at the end of the day, choose whatever you think you need and what you think is best. Obviously, this is going to be the best, but you might not need this much. So, you want to get something like this, or, you might not even need either of these two and just get a Galaxy FE, which I was going to buy instead of this, but what pushed me to buy this was the size and the kind of the specs, because they're both running the Snapdragon, and the FE is running the Exynos chip, which hasn't had a really great record. But I could be wrong. I'm open to this kind of things, to just try again. But yeah, you know, I preferred this, and plus it's on discount right now as well. So if you guys want to pick those up, go ahead. You know, I think it ends around the 29th or the 1st. I'm not really too sure, but you know, you still got time. Maybe a couple more days after this video is uploaded, but yeah, you know, fun stuff. But if you gave me the option between buying these two, if I didn't have any of them, I would obviously choose this, for like content creation, things like that, and transferring files, you know, sampling flow, all that fun jazz. But yeah, and then I would use this as my secondary phone. If not, I would probably use the Fold as my secondary phone. But the Fold actually would be my main phone. This, I use this as a secondary phone, believe it or not, and this would be my third phone. Yeah, you know, I hope you guys enjoy. Let me know what you guys think, what I should do next, possibly. You know, recommend me something. I'm just starting out, so you know the quality of these videos isn't gonna be great. You know, I'm just starting out, so you know, cut me some slack. But yeah, hope you guys have a good day, and hope this video kind of helps you decide what you want to do, whether you want to go ultra, you know, or you want to go a little bit more subtle. And yeah, you know, there they are, the two brothers. Well, three, 1, 2, 3. So, thank you guys.